Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this 29th, 30th day. Was it 29th day here? I'll exit the full screen here. I was wanting to see what that looked like. Of March here. Got a good show. Got John Restano, and I hope I'm getting your name right, from SpitBallin Sports. He will be on at 25 after the hour. Is going to ask him about this Lamar Jackson situation. Aaron Rodgers, he's out of the Buffalo area. Is going to ask him about the Bills. He's followed the Bears, so I'm going to ask him about that as well. Got a great show on this evening. Cannot wait to talk to John, catch up with him. He's been on the program before. The guy's really good. The MLB, some stats came out on what spring training looked like as a whole with this pitch clock. Got a few comments about that. The NFL, they are pondering flexing out the Week 14 and own games in the Thursday night football. Not a big fan of that. I kind of agree with the players on that one. Not a big fan of that. Plus, the NBA could perhaps have a deal done in another week or so with the new CBA collective bargain agreement. We'll go ahead and get our first and only break out of the way, and then I'll hit the ground running here on Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. Alrighty then, I'm back live here everywhere. Now, okay, so the NBA... statement from the NBA PA, Executive Tamika Tremblay, following NBA Commissioner Adam Silver press conference today, said that the March 31st deadline is an important benchmark, and we're doing everything we can to reach an agreement with the league. If you don't have a deal and the league decides to opt out, it will be disappointing, okay? Games will not be interrupted. So supposedly, there's going to be a deal done within the next week on the new CBA. Now, I've mentioned that the NBA wanted to the current deal will end. By the way, the CBA will end June 30th. So the essentially the finals will be done by then. Okay, and. Who was this? Adam Silver. He said, I certainly can foresee one getting done, and I hope we get one done, Silver says on the conclusion of a 2-day meeting with the league's board of governors. It's just because, honestly, I'm on one side of negotiations. It's difficult the rather it happens. Now, I'll say this. The NBA took a lot of hits over the last few years with load management, and that's been talked about, a proposal of, this was by the PA, by the way, of get a player who is eligible for awards like All-NBA. We had that talk before. That I don't know if I've mentioned this on this show, but it's came up before with Ja Morant. If he misses so many games, he can't be eligible for the All-NBA team, and that would affect his contract. That's supposed to be pushed up to 58 games. We talked about that before on this. I would think it should be closer to 80%, Pickles, which that would be about 65 games to be eligible for any awards, which, you know, obviously All-NBA, MVP, stuff like that. Okay. Part of ability is availability. All right. But apparently, Clay Travis put out a story with Outkick that their ratings have been crucial. Listen to this soundbite from his show. And I'll tell you why, but I'm going to play this soundbite real quick.
Story up right now at Outkick. Women's NCAA tournament game. I want to make sure I get this right. We've got a story up at Outkick. Caitlin Clark, a lot of people are finding her to be extraordinarily fun to watch. At the women's NCAA tournament, the women's NCAA tournament has actually outrated the NBA so far this year, which is pretty crazy to think about. And I want to make sure I get these facts right, so I'm going to pull up the article while I'm talking to you. It's pretty extraordinary. Iowa beating Louisville in the women's NCAA tournament drew more viewers than any NBA game has drawn on ESPN all season. Let me repeat that. A women's basketball game between Iowa and Louisville drew more viewers than any NBA game on ESPN all season. This ties in with what I said about the first round of the men's NCAA tournament. People like basketball. They don't like woke basketball.
Yeah, he uses the word woke. So it's and I got to thinking about this, and the product is good, even with the low management. I've talked about this with Carlos Man, New Yorker, and the trade deadline was really interesting. If you look at the product, the playoffs are lining up to be highly, highly interesting on the court, good basketball. And what it is, and even the NBA, even all the little woke messages and all that, they did away with that after 2020 off the court and all that. But here's my thing. It's the connection with ESPN, and they are bound to determine, by the way, ESPN supposedly, according to New York Post, supposed to lay off thousands of more employees. Another huge wave of employees, because they are bound and determined to push divisive topics on their talk shows, woke, far left, whatever you want to call it. You've got guys like Kendrick Perkins looking to call somebody, accusing the writers of being racist because of, what did he say? Because the Joker may get 3 MVP votes in a row, and he's not a top 10 scorer or something like that. He used other examples like Steve Nash and everything like that. And I thought to myself, of course, JJ Redick came back and said, what about guys like Irvin Magic Johnson doing this as well? So everything is race. They're still pushing that crap on Disney is their parent company. So they're pushing divisive, woke, anti-American policies, and that is catching up, and it's attached to the NBA. The NBA is trying to get away from this crap. Occasionally you'll hear a smart comment for a lecture from a Steve Kerr every now and then, and it would be an ESPN, air quotes for my podcast listeners, in quotes, it will be somebody from them trying to push that. And I don't care which side of you are on. I don't care if it's some crap that I believe in. But ESPN still hasn't got it through their thick head that people do not want to hear that. Even Jeffrey Deskovic, a guest I've had on, this guy was wrongfully put in prison for, what did he say, guys? 15 years or something like that, 16 years. And then I asked him about all this stuff with NBA players kneeling and stuff and wanting to lecture. He says, no, do something about it. Don't get on this basketball game or in this football field and lecture me on this stuff, okay? Because it says you middle-class worker, you're the problem. You, a hardworking American that just wants to watch the game and to get away from the real world for a little while, you're the problem. No, I'm not the problem. You overpaid athlete, and yet bad advice somebody's giving you. That's the problem. That's the problem. Okay. So and it's sad because the NBA, again, they're in a good place competitively. The league is very competitive. It's not like it was when Durant played for the Warriors, and it was awful. You couldn't watch the product. It was terrible. People stopped watching one team blow out everybody. But it's that connection to ESPN, and ESPN's bountiful and deliberately. For example, ESPN is giving Leah Thomas a lot of stuff about this transgender stuff has came in. This Leah Thomas, they give her a Courage Award, a shout out segment. This is a female transgender swimmer, a guy that says he wants to be a woman, has dominated the women's swimming because he couldn't finish well in the men's swimming in college. They want to give her a Courage Award instead of a swimmer that was actually a woman. Instead of something like that, gave some kind of segment. What did they say about that? Either way, that's what it is. It's the so if I'm the ownership and I'm Adam Silver, now I know he's just a commissioner, he's just somebody they hire. I'll say we got to get as far away from ESPN as we can. Next April, the NBC, they have the TV deals are going to be up in April. NBC is considering going to bid on the NBA again. And if I'm the NBA, I would take less money to not be associated with ESPN. And that's just what he said. ESPN, their viewership, women's college basketball had more ratings than any NBA game on ESPN this year. Women's college basketball, and those are fact. I've been reading this. I was reading this about how low that the ratings were on the All-Star game. We looked at that, and the product is good. The product is good. I've brought people on this program from around the country. New York, and the product is really good. So it's the association with ESPN who they stop you in the middle of the games and talk about a Florida state law. They stop in the middle of a women's basketball game and want to lecture people on some type of don't say gay law. And I mean, what does women's basketball have to do with teachers wanting to teach little kids in elementary school, kindergarten, pre-K, that type of school about transgenderism? It's just insanity. And the lovers like, no, we're not putting up with that crap here. So ESPN is doing this. And the NBA is getting clobbered. Anybody associated with NBA, ESPN, it's like a cancer right now. And it's really unfortunate. So, anyways, thank you, John. I'll see you back there, buddy. I've got a few more things. Let me knock out here real quick, and I'll bring you on. On another note, on a lighter note. The MLB pitch clock was a success, according to. Well, I say it was a success. The pitch clock in the spring training saved 26 minutes. 26 minutes. And I'm reading, this was on ESPN. When they cover sports, they're pretty good. But when they want to lecture you on some nonsense, then that's when I got a problem. So I got this off ESPN.com. Now, week 1, there were 2.03 violations because of the MLB pitch clock. Week 2, it went down to 1.49. Week 3, 1.13. Week 4, And so it went down just about each and every day, bigger bases and a limit on disengagements from pitching on rubber, increased stolen bases by 1.6 per game to 2.3. The success rates on attempts increased from 71 to 77%. Kudos to baseball. Finally, you're starting to wake up and get with the program. People want action. People want tempo. People want scoring. The defenses will catch up, like I said. What we talked about yesterday. Somebody's going to hit 400 in the next 2 years because of this. Somebody's going to hit 400 in the next 2 years. My guess is now this was interesting. Okay. The reduction in the games is in line with the experiments done in the minor leagues with the pitch clock over the past several seasons. Spring games were also 35 minutes shorter than the WBC games, which didn't use a clock, even though there were more runs scored per game in the spring games than the WBC. So that's people taking all day on the mound, looking around, throwing up the little, what's that bag, you know? So that is unbelievable. 35 minutes. Enforcement of the clock was a major storyline during the spring. A ball is added to the count if the pitcher basically, and quite frankly, folks, the minor leagues have been doing this for years. Okay. Runs remain similar with MLB teams scored a combined 10.6 last year compared to 10.2. Same goes for overall batting averages. Now, I'll say this. Everybody's getting used to this. One player said the older players are having problems with it. Rossenbach. Thank you, Pickles. They're having problems with it because they're used to having their routines. The younger players do like this stuff. And the averages, according to this spring training, they've pretty much, some of them went down. It's actually helped the pitching well, the pitcher staying in rhythm. You know, my dad used to tell me every time Bonds would feel like, he would notice that Bonds feel like a pitcher's in some kind of rhythm, that he would start fixing up his elbow pads and everything. Well, you can't do none of that now. You just got to get ready. When you're ready, you got to step in that box. You got so many seconds, and then that ball's going to get thrown. But so the shortened time, the minor leagues, it's 35 minutes off the minor leagues games too, because the minor leagues have been doing this for a number of years. You know, the minor leagues are kind of like guinea pigs, right? So I'm excited about this. I'll have Carlos Mad New Yorker Chavez on Friday's program to talk about the Major League Baseball. He's big into the Yankees and the Mets. I want to get his takes on that. Who he thinks is going to get to the World Series. Does he think anybody's going to hit 400? I know that Tony Gwynn did it. Was it 94? He hit 394. It might not be this year because a lot of this is players are getting used to it. But I think within the next 2 years, my prediction is somebody will hit 400 because of the lack of movement. You cannot get out of the dirt. If you're playing short or second, you can't get out of that dirt. You can only go so far. And, of course, from my understanding is those outfielders can't move in either. You can't shift in. So once you're there, you're there. And a good baseball player will study that, and they will study where, where a team may be weak at, where somebody may have a weaker arm, somebody hitting it shallow. Think about guys like, I'm telling you, Aaron Judge, a lot of bloop singles that this guy can hit, which would be a single back in the day, could be a double nowadays. So we're going to see. I think RBIs are going to go up. Scoring overall is going to go up. It's going to be really interesting. And so far, again, 26 minutes taken off. The games and the tempo's much better. And even though they score more runs in the spring training, they still got done quicker. It was 35 minutes quicker than the average World Baseball Classic where the clocks weren't used. More runs, less time spent. 35 minutes difference. Okay, it's 7:20. I've got John back here. Got a lot I want to ask him. John Rustino, you ready, John?
Oh, yeah.
Hey, man. Good to see you again.
Hey, Robert.
I'm venting about baseball and ESPN NBA.
Yeah. ESPN, tough. I can't take it.
ESPN
hard to watch ESPN.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Okay, I didn't send you this, but I was just reading that. You probably listened backstage. It's the NBA's connection with ESPN. The NBA has cleaned up their act. But ESPN, they want to shove a bunch of nonsense down your throat that has nothing to do with basketball, man.
Yeah. Yes. It's been it started for me a couple of years ago. I mean, and I could care less because I'm not really political at all, and I'm not going to go there, but they did too much of
Even
that.
If it's about politics, I don't want to hear that crap.
Yeah, no, I didn't like it at all. It was really bad, and they've turned me off. And I don't know who the audience is they're going for. That's the weird thing. The audience is me and you. It's not. I don't know who they think they're. That's what I don't get it. But anyways, you know what I mean,
right? So that's why I get a little bit of a rise out of that stuff. Now, Lamar Jackson's been into the news all day, all week. I gotta ask you, what's your take on Lamar Jackson, and why do you think teams are reluctant to offer him a big bunch of money, in your opinion?
Oh boy, first of all, I'm gonna say this. I think Baltimore they never gave him. I hate to say it because I'm not making excuses, but I don't think they ever gave him what he needed. Everyone talks about I need a number one, I need a second option. When you really think about it, all they had was Andrews, and they ran the ball. The offensive coordinator there, I don't know how he's still. I think was it Roman. I don't know how
they just moved off Roman. And they
good for them. Thank God for them, because he was terrible in Buffalo. I remember when they fired him. But anyways,
they did fire him in Buffalo, didn't they?
I can't see how. Well, I get why they're staying away from him. I guess is the guaranteed money. I mean, I heard what Arthur Blank said about his fear of him not playing enough games, and I don't know. It's getting very nasty, right? I mean, that whole situation with the agent, who I don't know if it is his agent or whatever, and they were worried about him being NFLPA certified. When I wonder if they worry about that, I don't know. This is a really weird situation, Robert.
Yeah.
Like I don't understand why it's so why it's gotten so nasty. You know what I mean? Because Aaron Rodgers' situation is nasty too, but it's not like this. This has got there's something about
really
this,
personal. He's making it personal, I think.
Yeah. Well,
he's not having any perspective, man.
No, well, wasn't he the guy? No, it was I'm sorry, it was Kyler Murray who brought out his high school stuff. Lamar Jackson, though, I notice he's on Twitter a lot. That's tough. When you're answering everyone back really quick, and you're, I don't know. I would think there will be a ton of teams that want him, right? Yeah. I mean, there's got to be at least 5 or 6 that would love to have him. But Arthur Blank said it best, I guess. You're just afraid of guaranteeing money if he still plays the way he does. I mean, that was interesting what Blank said, I thought, after, especially with him and Michael Vick.
Yeah, this is what he said. I got it right here. There's no question Lamar Jackson's one of the top QBs in the league. Looking at it objectively, there is some concern about whether or not he can play his style of game for how long that can last. Hopefully a long time. He's missed 5 games, 6 games each of the past 2 seasons. That's 40%. And listen, when he's missing them in December, when the money's on the line, he's trending in the wrong direction. And Greg Roman, I mean, you did make a pretty good point there. I think my point about that is, I think Baltimore just says this guy's never going to be a passer. He's never going to set passing records. We're going to put this type of offense, and we're going to roll with this. We don't think he's going to transpire more as he's not going to grow any more than he is as a passer. We're just going to roll with it here because he has mastered this offense so well under Greg Roman. And now, obviously, it's kind of came back and bit him. Remember, who was it? Bill Polian said.
Yeah.
He wouldn't even draft this guy as a quarterback. Of course, he got heat for it.
Yeah, sure. yeah, pull in. Jeez, I once again, not an excuse for Jackson. Just they never. What did he have? His best wide. What did he have? He had Hollywood Brown. Yeah. And he had Mark. I mean, you know what I'm trying to say? Like everyone cried. Like, all right, Justin Fields, you got to get him a number one. You got to give him a number one. Yeah. They get him a number one. Now he needs, Josh Allen needs a second option. Yeah. So, like, you know what I mean? Like, everyone needs something. I don't know if he ever had anything. Now, maybe that's. I don't know why. Why would you have never brought anyone in but Mark Andrews to try to help him along? Other than
Hollywood Brown did not. Yeah. He wanted to get traded because. Yeah, Hollywood Brown's looking at his numbers. He's like, dude, this guy, he's overthrowing me by a country mile. Right. He can't throw these in routes on the sideline that are real popular in the NFL for receivers. And Hollywood Brown wanted out of town. They could not get any free agents to come there. Yeah. See, actions speak louder than words. They can't. It's a brotherhood in the NFL, not to say, hey, look, the guy can't give him the freaking ball. Okay, bleep bleep. They're going to say, nah, I want to go here and there. But the truth of the matter is they want their numbers because they want their contracts to be good up, later on. And then, when Sean Bateman was drafted, the number one receiver out of University of Minnesota, he looked like that somebody died in his family. I'm like, dude, you're getting drafted to the NFL. when Baltimore called his name, I was like, what's with the long face? Right. You're not going to say because Lamar can't get me the ball consistently.
You know what? No, you're right. And the other thing that bothered me about Lamar that I think I've almost forgotten is his playoff performances have been pretty bad. A lot of turnovers, and whether it be a fumbles, whatever. I mean, just really bad playoff performances. That's another one.
Games. Yeah, he's had problems getting down early. And,
it's a tough. I mean, where did he came from? Louisville, right? Was that where he was?
Yeah, he won a Heisman in Louisville.
Yeah. And it was just, man, I don't know. There's such a stigma in all kinds of ways around here. Yeah. Like with, you got the black quarterback. Yeah. I mean, you know what I'm trying to say. And it always turns.
And that's the way that their media likes to say it, even though, the highest contract in the league is given to a black guy with most guaranteed money, Deshaun Watson. That's what he wanted. Right. But Watson's got a really high QBR rating. One of the highest in the league. He's up there at one time before all the sexual assault allegations. He was right up there with Rodgers with QBR, touchdown to interception ratio. He had won some games. Remember, they had a big lead on Kansas City the year Kansas City won their first Super Bowl. Well, he can't play defense. Right. Yeah. So that was the Deshaun Watson's argument, Mm-hmm. And that's why if you turn to ESPN, they'll try to say that it's something like that. Well, the biggest contract is technically, I think Mahomes is, and non-guaranteed like $450 million. Right. And he's half black, half white, But I just think it's just Jackson is he's a great guy, but I think that his game is very, very, what do you call it? It's almost a gimmicky offense. And maybe they should have tried to develop it and maybe try because they don't draft really well at receivers either. No. They've had problems with that.
And I'm trying to think back to his college, because obviously he was at Louisville. So, I didn't see a lot of Louisville and I watched college. You know what I mean? He just didn't. Yeah. It just seemed like, oh my God, this guy comes out of nowhere. And Tim Tebow was the same way, right? I mean, Tim Tebow was one of the best college quarterbacks I've ever seen. I mean, the stuff he was doing.
Yeah.
And
just didn't translate. Championships, Heisman also.
Unbelievable. I had said on a show back then one time that I thought he was the greatest thing I ever seen. I couldn't wait to see him come in the NFL and we saw what happened. Yeah. So similarly, I guess maybe almost like Jackson in a way.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. He was, but Jackson's quicker. He's better. He's a better player than Tim Tebow. But absolutely. I hope the guy works out. I like him as an individual, but I think that he's way overrated. I mean, you look at all these. I mean, you're missing 40%. You're trending in the wrong. And by the way, his last game against Buffalo in the playoffs, he got hurt in that game, and that game was still intact. That game was still winnable for Baltimore that year.
Now, let me ask you something. I know it's your show, but I want to ask you.
No, go ahead.
Does Tennessee have any ideas of him, or has that been said at all down there?
They're in the running to get him, but I don't think they're going to. They're one of the higher odds teams to get him. Their line is not very good. I could not imagine they would have to set aside $24 million. They're going to have to rob Peter to pay Paul to get him. And I don't know what they would do with Tannehill. They can make it happen, but it would be, if I'm Lamar, I wouldn't come here,
Right.
Line's not good enough.
Right.
Coaching's there. There with Vrabel.
Yes.
But line is not really good enough with Lamar. Maybe the Colts work it out. They have the line intact. They have the 4 pick. They want a quarterback. They've got rid of Matt Ryan. They have Shane Steichen. Maybe he can do a Jalen Hurts type of offense. That's a little closer to what Lamar does. And that would probably work out. I think they're probably the favorites, but nobody's saying that publicly. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it feels like, I don't know if he's going to go back to Baltimore after all this.
I can't imagine. No, I can't. He could sit out. I assume if he sat out, then he's right. He could just sit, and then
he said, "Yeah, trade me." Yeah, he sits, and then I just don't want it to be. I was talking about this in the program yesterday. I don't want this to be a Le'Veon Bell situation because I think it's going to hurt his game more than it'll help his negotiating tactic. Bell was terrible when the Jets picked him up in 2019. He set out the whole 18 season, if you recall.
Yeah. The other team that I was thinking was Tampa, but I guess maybe not. I don't know. I mean, I can't envision. I guess I could envision the Colts for sure. That's got it. To me, I thought they were going to be the favorites to get him. Atlanta, I thought, my God, that would have been perfect. You march him out on the field there. This seems like it would be, it almost
they got the money. They've got the offensive line.
But Blank doesn't seem to.
Arthur Blank don't want to sign off. Now, Tampa, it could happen in Tampa. They're only playing Baker Mayfield $1.7 million in contract. They could cut that. That's less than a backup quarterback.
Right.
They've got Mike Evans they got good possession receivers. The line's a little shaky, but he's a pretty good athlete. You're going to have some guys back. Remember, some guys just basically got hurt on Brady last year for them. Right. Some guys got hurt in training camp. So it could technically work, but I don't know if I'd want to play for Todd Bowles. I want an offensive-minded head coach to put the right scheme in for me. But he's got weapons in Tampa. So, I said Tampa would probably be one of the others that could work, and they need a quarterback. I mean, Baker Mayfield, he's a backup.
Yeah.
Best. Maybe a bridge quarterback, and, he's just going to have to get better. And any thoughts on Rodgers? Does he play for Green Bay or does he play for the Jets?
He's got to be a Jet. I'd be so stunned. I can't see him going back to Green Bay. They can't even want him anymore. I got to imagine. What do they want? What are they going to get? A couple number 2s maybe for him?
Yeah. Maybe number 2. They've come off this 13th pick stuff. They come off of the 13th pick overall.
Right.
Maybe a 2, maybe a 1 next year if Rodgers plays next year. Do this word conditional round. That's what I'm hearing Mike Florio saying. Something like that. But if you really think about it, you're talking about Aaron Rodgers in past tense. You've got Jordan Love. With those picks, I mean, if I'm the Jets, I could pick up maybe a Max Duggan in the second round to compete with Zach Wilson, worst case scenario, and let it roll that way. I have a pretty decent foundation I'm building up there. I think the Jets kind of got the upper hand because Green Bay is already talking about him in past tense. How awkward would the locker room be if he just comes showing up there in September?
Yeah, I can't see it. There's no way. I can't see it, man. I mean, I know I'm a Bears fan, so I don't want to see it, but I really can't see it. I just can't. He's got New York is the. I mean, I thought it from the beginning with perfect spot. It fits perfectly for him. I mean, he's a weird guy though because when I watched him a couple times on that Pat McAfee's show, and you hear him talk. Yeah, but he almost become. And I never liked him because he said, "I own you," the Bears and all that. But
he did say that.
He almost becomes likable on that show.
Yeah.
And I'm listening to him, but then the things I hear, they don't seem to match up. I don't know, man. I think, though, with the Jets and all they got around them, geez, they could seriously be a playoff team. I still think he's good. I still think he's got it in him. I still think he's got it for at least another 3-4 years.
The Jets were last year. Garrett Wilson's a real deal. He's rookie of the year last year at wide receiver.
Yeah.
Brees Hall. They can use some help on their old line, but I mean, it's his former offensive coordinator. They've got Lazard there. They may get Beckham, but for the right price. I mean, geez, come on. We're not giving you $20 million.
No, yeah, right. Yeah, that guy's another one. I can't even, it was like, thinking about here with the Bills, they keep on talking about it with him. Yeah. And I don't even know why they would buy. Honestly, that's another guy. I don't know how you could even consider because he's not going to play, right? You can't put him on the field. It's almost like Von Miller. You really play him in December, maybe?
That's a good transition. So what are your thoughts on the Bills off season so far, man?
Well, it's what I expected out of them because, eventually things have to, the window only stay, and they're still favorites, all that in the AFC East and all that. But, the window's starting to close a little, I think, on them. I mean, Edmonds is good. And I thought for the Bears to bring him in at 25 years old, I think that's going to hurt the Bills a little bit. I like Damian Harris. I thought that was a great signing for them to bring him in because I like James Cook. I really like James Cook. I think he's awfully good. I think he's going to be really good. I enjoy, and I'm glad they started to use him more. And I'm almost kind of glad they moved Singletary out. And we know that Poyer stayed. It hasn't been a bad off season for them, though. It could have been worse. I think Poyer staying is a big deal. I think it's very, very good for them that he stayed. I think he went out there and realized, maybe the money that he thought was going to be out there wasn't from Miami. Yeah. They signed that guy, the offensive guard from Dallas, McGovern.
And that's what I was going to ask you. What is your thoughts on McGovern? And I thought who was this? David Edwards. They brought him in from the Rams. So at least they realized that the offensive line is turning into an issue now.
Yeah, right. And I heard something that McDermott said the other day that I read it. And it was pretty much he's kind of hinting to the fact that he would like to see them run the ball more. Like literally turn around and hand it to somebody. And it just makes sense,
You've been wanting to say that for 3 years, huh?
Yeah. Well, really, because we're in Buffalo. And we saw the weather against the Bengals, and you see you gotta just turn it around and run the ball sometimes. I think he's also a little concerned that Josh Allen, of course, taking too many hits. He made that comment too, which makes sense. It seems as though they're not in it for DeAndre Hopkins anymore.
Yeah, we're reading that. Yeah, Sports Illustrated. Said that they're not in it. I think Arizona's. I think they're pipe dreaming about Hopkins. I think they're wanting like a high first round pick. He's still going to be a costly transition. He's still in his prime, but I think they're probably asking too much. Now I'm hearing that the Patriots are out also on Hopkins. Yeah, and so I'm sure he was going to the New England.
I'll tell you what, and this is going to be a big stretch, but it reminds me a little bit of McCaffrey, Christian McCaffrey. Look at how much that at Carolina, how much they gave up for McCaffrey with all the injuries and all the stuff.
They get a lot, yeah.
And like I sometimes I think DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, I know it's a different position and all, but it kind of reminds me of the same way. So I get why they want what they want. Like they're thinking, geez, this guy, like you just said, he's in his prime. Injuries, yes, but of course, when he's healthy, he's incredible. So I'm curious as to who's going to, or I can't even think of where he's going to go. To be honest with you, Robert, where would you guess? I can't even think.
Somebody that's got the money, that can absorb that contract, and they feel like they're in a window. Somebody will, maybe Atlanta, go offset with Drake London. They still have quarterbacks on rookie contracts. Maybe they come off their high horse. Thank you, John, by the way. Appreciate the highlight. John also says Buffalo for years has had great running backs for the cold weather. Yeah, maybe they go after Derrick Henry down here. We'd kind of like to ship him up there if you don't mind. With Derrick Henry, if he could give us that second round pick, brother, I would definitely be okay with that, John.
Yeah.
And John.
Yeah, John's a good man. I know John pretty good. He's a good guy, man. He's a season ticket holder for the Bills for probably 50 years. John has been to every game. I got to bring him on. He knows it all about the Bills.
I'm telling you guys, I picked Buffalo to win the whole thing last year, and I'm still not over that Cincinnati loss.
Yeah, I thought about this the other day, and I forgot what. I think I was watching again. It might have been McAfee's show, and they had that Sal Capaccio on, who's one of their beat writers, and he was talking about all the obviously, Hamlin. I guess like that was something unbelievable. Not the snowstorms and all that, because everyone's played through that stuff where hurricanes had to move games to Tuesdays and Wednesdays. We remember all that, but like I will give them the Hamlin situation. That was an odd thing. I mean, that was just, think about it. For almost 3 or 4 days, I couldn't even speak the word football. Like it was almost like you didn't want to speak football because you felt like, oh my God, the guy. You know what I mean? You couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So I give them that a little bit.
Too. I thought he had died, man. I thought he had died on the field, and they're trying to play it off. And then I called my dad. I was like, "You think he's dead?" He's like, "Yeah, I think he's." I said, well, I wonder what happened. He snapped his neck, and then we were talking about. I was like, maybe it was a heart attack, and then before you know it, it was a heart attack, and then the whole conspiracy came out. Where is he really alive? Is that person crazy internet stuff?
He was in the best, and luckily he was in the best place of all. Like, right? Yeah. I mean, because if that happens to me or you at work or wherever we are, we're probably gone. Luckily, he had all the people there to just. I mean, because that's my thing. I guess, like, if there's going to be an excuse for that team at all, I'm going to say there probably were a little bit emotionally spent from all that went on there. I mean, how much adrenaline rush do you get? They probably got a little jump, but geez. It's funny, that Bengals game went exactly how the other game started. Wasn't that odd? Like the game that Hamlin gets hurt. It had the same feeling. The Bengals just kind of were going to do it. Like, that was it. There was going to be no resistance. The only thing that that concerns me a little, but this is just, maybe it's nothing, is Stephon Diggs. I think he's great. I just think sometimes I can't tell if he's all there. Like I always remember him from Minnesota. The stuff he said on HBO.
Remember, he complained about Buffalo, or he snapped at Allen at the end of the Buffalo game too.
Yeah, it was, and he ran out of there real quick. I remember that was the whole story. And I actually got into an argument with the guy who writes up here because it's what happened. They tried so hard to downplay it, but it is what happened. Now, you could say whatever you want. The guy has a track record of being a little bit disgruntled, but whatever. I mean, all in all, this offseason I think has been good for them because it could have been worse. I think because Poyer could have left, they knew they were going to lose Edmonds, right?
Yeah, they brought Poyer back. He made the taxes comment and he goes back to Buffalo anyways. They showed him the love. So that tells me there's some good team chemistry there.
Him and Hyde are awfully good together. I mean, that's a really good. I don't know what they're going to do with the loss of Edmonds. That'll be interesting because, it's a lot of tackles. That's a lot of, it's a 6'5".
He went to the Bears. He went to your other team.
Yeah. 6'5" kid. He's 25 years old, fast. I mean, that'll be tough to replace, but they're still awfully good. And the AFC East looks like it's going to be maybe the best division in football.
Yeah. Possibly. Yeah. And if Rodgers probably going to go to the Jets. And here's my thing for you and for the other John there. John Elway, the other John. Let's go John, and John, right? John, arguably Mel Kiper, going all the way back to the 1983 draft, was considered, and probably to this day, still considered the greatest individual prospect of all time. He couldn't get to the Super Bowl without a running game. I see Josh Allen. I see a lot of John Elway there. And you guys are going to need a run. I think the next shoe to drop is going to be McDermott, not unless they improve this year, because that contract he's got is going to go up, and it's going to be harder for you guys to field a good team around him. You're going to have to hit home runs, in the draft in order to stay competitive. And everything I've been through with Elway, not Elway, but who's the guy? Kelly, and those four straight Super Bowls. I think the next shoe is going to be McDermott, not unless they get something done in September, and it's got to be massive, man. What are your thoughts about that? Are the local radio stations even discussing this? Or are they still in love with McDermott?
Yeah, I think there's still a love affair with McDermott. I think it's still,
the way he handled the Hamlin situation.
I said it's what I think. I think that gave him a little bit of it extended the honeymoon. I think it did extend the honeymoon. I would like I would like to. Here's what I think. Damian Harris is a great. I think that was smart. I really do. He's big. I got to tell you, I was shocked. That doesn't seem like what they would normally do. They're going to sit there with Nyheim Hines and Cook and all that. You bring this guy in. I think it's finally an admittance. We have to, we've got to do this. We have to control the ball. We can't keep putting our off defense in those positions that they're put in and all that stuff. Yeah. It's funny. The Buffalo Bills, for as long as I can remember, and it's very odd, even in the Kelly years, as good as those years were, they were always they never were one to want to control the clock.
Right.
Even those years, the great Thurman Thomas.
Jimmy Johnson's book, and he says they're going to turn the ball over. They play really fast. Trust me. Didn't they have 9 turnovers in that first Super Bowl against the Cowboys in 92, 93, I want to say?
I think you're right. The 52.
And they jumped off the 7-0 lead early.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Johnson's like, calm down. They'll give it back to us. And they did, obviously.
Well, think about that first one with Parcells. I mean, he did the groundwork for everyone on what to do. How he played them and have a good running game. O.J. Anderson was. But anyways, the Bills, I think this was a good admission that they need to. I think McDermott has to be on the hook. If they don't make it to the AFC Championship at least.
Yeah.
I mean, I think.
So you're saying championship game or the locals are going to say it's probably McDermott. Thank you for your services.
You know what? There was rumblings of that already. I do believe Hamlin kind of did soften the blow. My co-host that I have now is a huge Bills fan, and he rumbles about McDermott, and also about and he's not there. Why is he? He was, my gosh, why the defensive coordinator? Why am I forgetting? Leslie Frazier.
Frazier. Did Frazier retire?
He just went away for a year.
Oh, that's right. So who's going to be your coordinator this year?
I think it's going to be McDermott.
Oh, he's going to be calling the defense?
I would get, that's what I believe.
Dorsey calling the offense.
I think they do miss.
I don't know about that, man.
They missed it, the guy from Alabama, the big guy there who's with the Giants, he was good.
Yeah.
He was awfully good. Yeah.
He really was. He's pretty good. Yeah. Yeah.
He was a lunatic.
Maybe he was the problem and Dorsey would fix it, but he never did fix the running game.
No, they got to. They admitted it. It was basically just admitted the other day. They admitted that first of all, we can't let Allen keep getting hit like this. And we would pretty much, he didn't say why. I wish should have brought the quote, but you could tell. And then Harris gets signed. And I'm not saying Damian Harris is the greatest thing, but it's a different type of back for them.
He's a physical guy. And John, I will bring you on and your friend. Give me John, if you just send me your contact, I'll bring you on next week.
Oh yeah, he'd love to come out.
I want the Buffalo Bills to win, either them or maybe Denver. I think Tennessee's kind of nah.
yeah, Tennessee. Right. Yeah. The Bears got some guys from Tennessee. I see. The guard.
That's a good transition. What is your take on this Bears getting that big trade like that with Carolina?
I'll tell you what. I mean, and this is long suffering talk, so I don't try to say too much because I'm not going to jinx them. But it was a good. It couldn't have got for me. It couldn't be a better off season. I mean, it was
nice.
You get DJ Moore, you get the pick next year, the first rounder. You're accumulating all the picks this year. I like Tremaine Edmonds and I like TJ Edwards and I like that. And these guys, I even like I always say his name wrong. Tanyan from Green Bay, the tight end they brought.
My dad would call him Tanya.
Tanya,
big dick,
all the guys, all these guys. It's funny. We're all Bears. It's kind of odd. They were all Bears fans as kids. So it's kind of a weird thing that's been going on there that they've been bringing in some kind of like homegrown guys.
He's a former Packer, too.
Yeah.
Tanyan, it's his second year back from surgery. I think he'll be a lot better this year. Remember, he had surgery last year?
Right.
Or he had a very bad injury in 21, and then last year was the first year.
I like Donta.
Too, yeah.
Yep, Donta Freeman, I think, was good. Foreman, I'm sorry. He was
Yeah.
I mean, he had the same numbers. It's funny. I was looking at the numbers, same numbers as David Montgomery. I mean, almost, exactly 914 to 900, whatever. They had the same numbers, same type of guy. You got Khalil Herbert there. I mean, I'm cautiously optimistic on all of it. Obviously, Justin Fields will be the key. I mean, we're going to find out. I think they've left no chance for an excuse here, except the offensive line. I'm glad they got Davis. I don't know much about Nate Davis, but I read some good things about. You would know from Tennessee. Seems to be
he's okay. I think you should probably add another piece, and they probably will with that 9th pick. They're probably going to get Sinoski from Northwestern. That's my guess. Local guy, plus he's really good.
It's got to be him, right? Or Paris from
Johnson from Ohio State.
The kid from Georgia too. I mean, it's another one.
But he comes from Georgia. You have to look at the Georgia players with the fine-tooth comb. They seem to get in trouble. Jalen Carter.
Man, I like him. Someone's going to get
good, but man, he's got some red flags.
I'll tell you what I saw a red flag is when they played Ohio State, how tired he looked. I was stunned at how tired he was and how he couldn't stay on the field against Ohio State. When I watched, I could see him. He was huffing and puffing. He was on the sidelines. I don't know what was going on there. So, but I think someone maybe rehabilitates him. He's awfully good. It's all Justin Fields, Robert. If Fields is
Mike Davis says he'll never become squat in that organization. He's probably thinking that they need an offensive-minded head coach.
We'll see. I mean,
this is make or break for. I mean, Fields has got to take a big jump. There's too many targets now.
Yeah, well, I thought last year was a good beginning. I mean, you got to figure. Like we talked about this before. I mean, it starts out pretty. The guy who drafts him shouldn't have drafted a quarterback. Ryan Pace shouldn't have been involved in that. So he plays that year with Nagy. They need to win because they're going to get fired. So they play Andy Dalton. They don't give him. It's a mess. I thought last year was a nice step for him in a way because there was opportunities where he did look like he was at Ohio State. He can throw the ball deep. He throws the ball deep rather accurately.
Yeah.
Now it's the other things. They talked about it. Brian Poles was talking about the other day, pretty candidly, about him having to do more than just throw the ball deep and run. He pretty much said it right out there. And remember, he didn't draft him, right? So that's why I
brought up last time we were on. That's why I threw that question at you, maybe that they should trade him. But
I think though the good thing is they got that number 1 pick from Carolina. And I know Carolina's trying to load up, but they're probably not going to be that good. So, because they'll have a rookie quarterback. If things go bad, they'll have a shot at draft, and it's a good quarterback draft next year. You know what I mean? They might have themselves set up in the event. I think Fields is good, but I'm also an Ohio State fan that watched every snap. I told you this before, so I'm kind of biased, and I'm really hoping, But as far as being a Bears fan, right now DJ Moore comes and he's the leading receiver of all time for the Bears. So that just says it all. I mean, that's how bad.
Right?
Yeah,
wow.
He is now.
See, that's why I brought you on. That's unbelievable. He's better than Jeffrey and who's the guy that came in there with Cutler?
You had Brandon Marshall. Yeah. He right now has more numbers than any. I mean, that's how bad the organization has been.
Route runner, man. Yeah.
This Bears organization. That's why when they got rid of the president even changed. We talked about this before. That was a big deal because you had a guy in there who was there since '84. I mean, that's nuts. And
he just retired, didn't he?
Yeah, luckily. And Virginia McCaskey, they're and I don't know, man. They're starting to go to a new stadium, I guess, in a couple of years and all that. I'm hoping that that means they're going to take a leap into the
21st century.
Yeah, and I mean, because I really, when you really sit back and think about how bad offensively this team has been, it's shocking. I mean, when they go to the Super Bowl, it's Rex Grossman and Thomas Jones and Cedric Benson were the offense.
Yeah,
and
I remember.
And I think Bernard Berrien
Berrien. Man, so you got a great memory.
Well, for Bears, I do. I mean, for meaningless stuff, I do. But those guys, but
hey, who's the kicker there? Was it Gold
back then?
Young Robbie Gold.
Ooh, was it Robbie Gold back then? It might have been.
I think it was Pickles.
I think it was. Yeah, he wants to come back. Robbie Gold.
Robbie Gold's like 150. Man, he played on that 07 Bears team. 06.
Yeah. Yeah, the Super Bowl team. You're right.
Man,
it had to be him.
Gary Anderson.
Yes, it was him. And well, geez, for the longest time, Kevin Butler was the greatest offensive player the Bears had next to Peyton. So I mean, that just tells you how. And you think back to that team, it had nothing other than Peyton. So I don't know, man. They need offense, but
yeah, the last team to lead the league in rushing and win a Super Bowl was who? I heard this the other day.
Lead the league in rushing and win the Super Bowl.
Win the Super Bowl. Not get there. Win the Super Bowl.
I don't know. I was going to say Dallas, but who is this?
I would have said Dallas too. It was the 85 Bears.
Oh, the 85 Bears. Nice.
Yeah.
Right.
That tells you, you need balance in a running game, but you can't be all the way running and you can't be all the way pass happy either. You know, we saw that with the Bills.
Yeah.
But it tells you need balance, man. You need balance.
Yeah. And I think the Bills are striving for it for the first time. I've really heard it out of their mouth. I think, also you got to stop making Allen having to be being the Superman of it all, because that's where that's going. I mean, that's going to end up, it's going to end up bad. It always does, because he's going to get hurt. He's going to do too much. Now he does have that on a negative
type of guy, except they need a running game too.
Yeah. I mean, the only negative I see of Allen is he wants to be and that's a good thing. He wants to be that guy. He wants to win the game. He wants to be that. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. That's good. That's better than being it's better than being Lamar Jackson, who kind of shrinks in those situations. But
yeah, and back to Fields, I was really hyped up when I see him play that Monday night game against New England. But it seems like his play deteriorated after that, But he is a strong athlete, man. He's just got to put it in the right. He's got to put some touch on it, man.
Well, the Dallas game was the beginning for him, I thought. I mean, they ended up losing. And it was when he actually lost the game kind of for him when he just dropped the ball. He didn't realize it wasn't college anymore. He didn't get touched. He just left the ball there, and Dallas picked it up and recovered it.
Yeah.
And but then from that point, you had the New England game. You had some good things happening. And I think the offensive coordinator, Getsy, I think they hurt him a little bit. He got hurt a couple games. Like he hurt his ribs, he hurt his shoulder. He was running way too much.
Yeah,
and
he got crazy with it. Yeah,
they had Miami beat. I mean, they had Miami beat. As a matter of fact, there was a pass
interference.
They had
Detroit beat too.
Yeah, they had them beat. So I mean, there's a chance that this team could be, maybe they could be a 500 team, 9-8.
I was about to ask you. So you're thinking 500 would be considered a success for you?
Yeah, because I can't really. I mean, because I don't know. The defense was bad last year, by the way. That was a really, really bad defense.
Stop the run.
Not at all. And now, I mean, I do like, they got Brisker. You'll have Jackson back, Jalen Johnson. They had some guys. I mean, they did have some players. So I got to see the defense. If the defense is good, maybe they win 10 games. Maybe. I don't know, though. They got a weak schedule, very weak. And that's all on Fields, though. I mean, if Fields ends up being if he's what, unfortunately, some people think he is, it could be a disaster. The thing that I can't do this, Robert. Maybe you're better at this than me. I don't know. College football to pro football is such a weird thing. Yeah. Because I watched Justin Fields play against Clemson in the national championship game.
A lot of NFL guys on Clemson, yeah.
And he was incredible. And the reason why they lost was because I believe it was the kid from New Orleans went the wrong way and they got picked in the end zone. I can't remember Olave. I mean, he was incredible that game. He played
well against Alabama in the championship game.
He played well there. Yeah, so it's no different than CJ. Like CJ Stroud. I guess
the Georgia game. Do you think Stroud's going to go I think he's going to go number 1 to Carolina. Some people are saying Bryce Young, but I don't know, man. Stroud looks more safer because I think Stroud is
the size, and you know what? Stroud didn't run all year. He wouldn't run he refused to, and sometimes I wished he'd run. He wouldn't. He did against Georgia though. That was great. He decided to run. That was outstanding.
Good athletes in Georgia, man.
Ohio State had him. I mean, really, you make a field goal, you win the game. But they or tie the game, whatever the hell it was. But he's got to be number 1. He's got to be. I think he's awfully good. I mean, He might be what everyone wants. Nah, see, Fields is just more athletic, but I think he's got to be number one. I think Carolina would be crazy to mess, unless they're going for, would they do something for Lamar Jackson? I can't imagine.
Yeah, that would be crazy. Because why would you do all that trading, and just give them the one pick? But you know what? Matt Castle, back in the day, he signed the Patriots gave him one of those air quote non-exclusive franchise tags. There's only been so many. Steve Young got it back in 93. He signed back, obviously, with the 49ers. Jim Harbaugh got it with the Colts. He signed back or whatever with the Colts. And Matt Castle got it, but they took it off. And they did a traditional trade. So look for something like a traditional trade to be done with Lamar Jackson. So you don't have to do the 2 number 1 things. Maybe you get future 2s or whatever. Maybe they can get more because Jackson's still in his prime technically. So that's interesting to see. Somebody may make a move for him. I can't see Carolina. I think Carolina will probably go with Stroud or Young. Young's he's probably the most skilled. Bryce Young out of Alabama, but he's 5'10", dude. He's 192. He's gonna get hurt. See to
I know.
Kyler Murray.
Right. I know. Yeah. That's his problem.
Exhibit A, Exhibit B, right?
Yeah. What do you think of, and maybe you saw more of him, because I didn't see enough of the kid from Kentucky. Did you see? I didn't see Will Levis much.
Levis got a quick release. He's got what like Mel Kiper would say, he's got what the NFL coaches want. He can make those sideline throws. The problem with him is I didn't see him really play well in big games in the SEC. He played terrible against Tennessee. Now, supposedly he was dealing with an injury. They had some offensive line injuries. But why did you get beat out by Sean Clifford from Penn State? Right. He's had he had a pretty good game, some good throws against Florida early on. And I just don't know about him. I mean, Colin Cowherd says, well, the guy's parents who came from Yale, he's not got the best. He's got the best talent around him because in Kentucky, and my argument against that is Kentucky's talent is way better than it used to be 10 or 15 years ago under the Mark Stoops. So he's a major question mark. Bucky Brooks from NFL Network says he's not even going to go in the first round.
Oh, wow.
Mel Kiper says he may be the best quarterback.
What about Richardson? He's another one that I've heard raw so
talent,
much.
Man. Raw talent. Yeah.
I don't know if it was Carolina. I think it was. That was very enthralled. Like it was on McAfee's show where they were talking about how they had a beat reporter on from there at the meetings in Arizona saying that there was possibly internal toil between him and CJ Stroud. There's parts of that organization that likes Richardson. That's interesting.
Jason McIntyre thinks that he may go overall really talented, physically strong, kind of compared to Josh Allen. But, dude, he's only played 12 games. He's super raw. He's Trey Lance raw.
That's like Trubisky. Yeah, that's Mitch Trubisky stuff. Yeah, no doubt. I can't.
Trubisky was a good athlete. I forgot about that. He was a pretty good athlete, wasn't he?
Oh,
and he only played for 1 year. Oh,
he had that, man. Let me tell you, think about that year with the double doink year. The Bears at that point had just won, I think, the GM of the year. Ryan Pace was GM of the year. I think Nagy might have been runner-up for Coach of the Year. I don't even know. Yeah. Coach of the Year type stuff.
I was sure I was going to win that game, by the way, over New Orleans.
And then you had Trubisky in the in the Pro Bowl, and all of a sudden the wheels came off the following year. And I do think it had to do with the Trubisky injury. I remember him hurting himself, and ever since the point that he hurt his shoulder, he stopped running. He needed to run to be, a little more, to be at least, because him dropping back in the pocket is just not good. But I don't know, man. The Bears, though, that team was so ready to win, it felt like.
Yeah. Remember you got Khalil Mack that year in the trade, that offseason?
Yeah.
The first year that you won the division.
He was so good that first year, and then it just he just really hit a wall. And but those are the things that I'm glad the Bears aren't doing now. That's why I'm happy. Yeah. I'm happy they went the other direction.
I wouldn't hire him for dog catcher, man. He missed so bad as a GM. He's terrible. God.
The only thing he did that I thought was Eddie Jackson from Alabama when he took him, the safety. I mean, everyone thought his knee was tore up and everything else, so he got him. That might be all I can think of with him.
Khalil Mack was pretty good.
It was a nice deal, nice trade. But but then when you look back at what the Raiders got with everything, you might wish you had it. So I don't know.
Right. Well, I mean, you could have got Deshaun Watson. You could have got Patrick Mahomes. So that should make you go throw up on that one.
Yeah.
Well, they traded up. Perfect in Chicago, man. With that win.
I told you what he said too. It's insane when they asked Mahomes about it. He thought he was going to the Bears, and when the Bears trade up to get Trubisky, it's just one of the most unbelievable, one of the most unbelievable things in draft history because it was just made no sense. Still to this day,
bugaboo ever.
One of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it all turn around this year, man. I really like what Poles has done so far. I'm with you, but they do need to address their offensive line. You said, why you keep saying that over and over? Because defensive-minded head coaches, we've got one down here in Tennessee. You've got one up there in Pittsburgh. They have a tendency to poo-poo the offensive line. Pittsburgh spent no money on the offensive line. The Bears, the least amount of money spent on the offensive line last year. Well, guess what? They had the number one pick. You got to protect these guys. It's not a fashionable position. It's just not very fantasy footballish. But hey, the big uglies get it done, man. They get it done. They're the unsung heroes. You know who spent the most money? The Philadelphia Eagles. Well, they're in the Super Bowl. Go figure.
No, that's the Bears have about $38 million left, I think. So,
and you know what? I read they could have 200 next year in cap room.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, after the draft, why is he slipping my mind? Damn it, I can't remember the offensive lineman. The Bears offensive lineman who was rookie of the year this year, or not rookie of the year. He made the All-Pro team, All-Rookie team on the O-line.
Oh, really? Yeah, and it may have been that guy from like Oklahoma State or something.
Yeah, geez, I can't remember his name. But anyway, he's there. They're going to draft one. You're right. I mean, if they don't do that, I mean, the Bears have to run the ball.
They get Jalen Carter with that 9th pick, man, and watch him get like a DUI or something like the first weekend you draft him.
I'd kind of be surprised. Yeah, Poles would shock me if he went that route. I mean, that sounds like a Ryan Pace move. I mean, that would be
that's a John Robertson out of our former offensive, our former general manager here in Tennessee. I know who you're talking about. Are you talking about Tevin Jenkins?
Not him. It wasn't
Lucas Patrick, maybe Braxton Jones.
No. What's his name? God darn it.
Cody Whitaker.
Not him.
Doug Kramer.
Why is the name not coming to me? It's not Tevin Jenkins, although he was good.
Yeah.
Gosh. I feel like he was number 70. It's in my head. I'll have to send it to you. I can't remember. I can't get to my phone so I could find it.
Yeah, I won't. I've got it right here. I mean, I'll tell you what.
Who was their starting offensive line?
Receiving core, Yeah. On paper,
yeah.
I mean, games ain't played on paper.
Claypool, I guess, will be we'll see how he
Mooney is definitely your number 2, I think.
Him and Mooney, right? I mean, it isn't bad. I mean, and if Komet will be interesting to see how much money he's going to end up being paid. I mean, he's an interesting one. I guess it'd be kind of like
a year on his rookie contract, I think.
Yeah, I'm looking at like Dawson Knox. I think that was an interesting contract the Bills signed him to, and it kind of might be the roadmap for him. But gosh, why can't I remember his name? I feel like his last name was Jones, by the way.
Yeah.
The guy I'm thinking of for the Bears, and I can't remember his first name.
Yeah, and you know what? It's not showing up on their ESPN's depth chart here. Braxton Jones, the left tackle.
That's it. There you go, Braxton Jones. There you go. He was
Colin Coward was saying that they're ranked like 15th, so they wasn't terrible, but their run defense was really bad last year. It was unbear-like in air quotes.
It was horrible.
He came from Southern Utah. I've never heard of this guy. So was he a Ryan Poles guy?
No.
They probably need a right tackle then, my guess is. Maybe they won't take a tackle with that 9th pick then. I would try to get a higher end tackle. I would try to get a right tackle early, but that's just me,
No, I want the guy from Northwestern or Ohio State. That would be my Ohio State.
Maybe he beats out Braxton Jones or vice versa.
And you can move him around. Braxton Jones could move. I don't know, you know what I mean? But they the Bears have always, you know it, they've always had a strong defense, and last year was very difficult to watch because it was just, remember they played Buffalo, they were up 10-7 at half.
Yeah.
They came
very
back
cold
out.
That day. Woo, man, was that cold.
Yeah. They just stopped. They didn't want to hit anyone. The Bears, I think, made a business decision. Some of those guys decided, no, just the hell of it, because Singletary ran wild that game.
He did. He did. You know, I had him in a fantasy game, and I took that day. I took every under. I hit almost all of them except for Carolina and Detroit.
Oh,
the offenses woke up there. Go figure.
Yeah.
Hey, John, thanks for coming on. We went over because it's fun talking football with you, brother.
Yeah. You know what? Let me say something before I go. First off, I'm going to get in touch with you because I got to get you back on with me and Scott, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah. And what time is your show? 7 o'clock?
We're at 6 o'clock Eastern on Fridays.
Yeah. SpitBallin Sports, folks.
And the other thing, real fast, I'm going to let you go.
Yeah, no.
ESPN's terrible. And I couldn't watch it. And that's how I find your show, by the way, is just looking around. I'm like, okay, this here is what I want now, because you're giving me information. You're doing it every night. You give me information of the day. It was perfect. So I don't even need ESPN anymore. I just come here.
Man, hey, thank you, John. I appreciate that. You know, I'm going to try to get back on. You're a big football fan. You follow the league. Special teams coordinator, Mike Westhoff of the Denver Broncos. He's worked with Sean Payton back when he was with the Saints, and he also worked with your former rival there, the Jets, with Rex Ryan. Try to get him back on the program. He's come out of retirement, 74 years old.
Wow.
I think they're going to be really good because you think about a good special teams in that rarefied air. It's going to be good for kickers. He's one of the best in the game. He had a book came out this past year called Figure It Out. I don't know when, but I'll let you know, man.
Yeah,
Mike Westhoff. I'm going to try to get Jimmy Johnson on, former Dallas Cowboy coach too, but he's going to be a little bit harder, man.
Listen, I'll be watching because, like I said, this is hey, Scott.
I may use that for a marketing. You tell me I found your show. I may use that for a marketing promotion.
It's the truth. Yeah, clip it out because I'm telling you, I can't handle SportsCenter. Can't do it. Can't watch it. None of them. Not even Fox.
And it's hurtful, dude, because I grew up with this stuff.
Yeah, me too. But you're doing it the way I want to.
In the 80s and 90s, in the 90s.
You know, yes, and you're doing it the way I want to see it. So that's how it attracted, and I'm glad I'm able to be on the show. And you definitely got to come back to mine when you're free.
Let me know. Yeah, I could give you 30 minutes because I got to prepare. I got Carlos Mad New Yorker on Fridays, and I got to have he's a strong debater sometimes, and sometimes we get a little crazy. Like this Friday, we're going to be talking about.
I've seen it. Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen you guys. I'm watching.
College together 20 years ago, by the way.
Oh wow, nice.
Yeah. So, but yeah. So it's we're going to be talking about the Major League Baseball, all these pitch clocks, and I'm excited about it. I don't know if you're a traditionalist, but I can't wait. I haven't watched baseball consistently for about 15 years. I've been a casual fan. I'm going to try to get back into it because they've added the pitch clocks and they've did away with shifting.
Robert, the only thing I don't like.
Are you an old school guy, man? Not to
There's only one thing I don't like. Only one thing, and I can't stand the ghost runner. I can't take that 10th inning, that extra inning stuff when they put the guy on second base.
Everybody's against it. I'm okay with the ghost. If you want to take the ghost runner out, but you're okay with everything else.
Yeah. Yes. I can't stand that. I can't watch the game no more. I love extra innings. I love the whole deal. I love it all. And I can't see losing and winning games and losing a pennant or something over a ghost runner. That's softball. That's pure league softball. With you.
Everybody's saying that, okay, do away with the ghost runner, but we're talking 26 to 30 minutes off the games, man. Somebody's going to hit 400 in the next 2 years because they're going to eliminate that shifting. You can't get out of the dirt.
You know, that's pretty cool.
Pickles
I like
likes
it.
The old school. He likes the 4-hour games. Pickles does.
I'm okay with it too. I went to go see the Yankees. The Yankees play the Guardians one time. Me and my wife, and we sat. There's a doubleheader. It was unbelievable. The second half went. I think it went 16 innings. I was there till almost midnight, but I didn't care. I don't know.
Wife of yours, brother.
Oh, she's incredible.
Girlfriends, they'd be running around antsy. My mom, she can't watch 10 minutes of the football game.
No, but I'm I'm lucky. Robin is my producer basically on all the shows. She's lucky.
Like Linda for Mac from the Mac and Jack. That's Mac's wife. Yeah.
And I'm producer. The luckiest guy in the world.
Yeah. All right, man. All right, brother. Stay in touch. And other John, if your friend wants to come on, you tell him, give him my contact through whatever means, and bring him on next week.
I will. I definitely will.
Thanks, guys. Take care, see you, brother.